Array is basically, it's a data structure and it's used to hold several items, okay? But the items have to be of the same data type. So this means that if you think about variable, I might set a variable and call it name and make it equal to someone's name. But that can only ever store one name, okay? I can change that name. Right? If I need to change that name, I can change it as many times as I want in my program, but it will only ever store one name. Okay, whereas an array can store several. Okay, it can store as many names as I want it to, as long as I set the size of the array to the correct size when I start my program. Now, Python lists are slightly different than arrays because they allow you to mix data types. All right, so this is in a list, Python, and if you see here, I've set a list up. I've called it list 1, and I've got a data type for names, but then I've got a separate data type for age, a separate data type for their gender, and then another data type for the colour of their hair. All right, so you can see here, there's one data type for there, 2 data types, and then 3 data types in that one list. Whereas if I was using an array, I would be limited to 1 data type. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the pseudocode to declare them. Although this video is not about pseudocode, I just want to show you how to declare them in pseudocode, and then if you have any trouble with pseudocode or you need to revise it a little bit more, remember there is a pseudocode help document, PowerPoint, in the revision section of the class website. Okay, so first of all, we declare, like always, give the list a name, tell the person it's an array, give the lower bound, that is the first position in the list, give the upper bound, that's the last position in the list, and then say what type of data is in there. So in real life it would look like this. Declare, the name of this list is called student name, it's an array, the first position is 1, the last position is 10, and it's of type string. Now this bit here, the lower bound and the upper bound, is important because in Python, lower bound is set to 0. Okay, in other languages, lower bound might be set to 1. That's why it's important to declare what your lower bound is. Okay, because if I set my lower bound to 0 and then someone else thinks it's set to 1 and they call position 3, they're actually calling in there, they think they're calling position 3 and in terms of 1, 2, 3, but what they'll get in our list is 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so in one language you would get that one, in one language you get the other. So you have to declare your bounds. Okay, that's important. All right then. So let's make a start on the Python code. Okay, I'll try and keep it as short as possible. If it's going too long, I will stop the video and we'll pick it up where we left off in another video, so the video doesn't get too long. I'm going to go through the list and I might add a couple of other things in here as I go, if I think of any. But I think this is probably everything you'll need to know for your exam in terms of one-dimensional lists. Okay, and two-dimensional lists, but it's done slightly different in 2D lists, so we'll look at that in another video. So first of all, we want to create an array. Let's call it students. And you just put equals and then open square brackets. Now the contents is going to go in there. If you just want it to be an empty list, you can just leave it empty. That is fine. But I'm going to add some stuff in. So I'm going to add the first person. Let's say student called Jill. And then I separate items in the list by putting a comma. All right. Then let's have the second person as Bob. Let's have third person in there, let's call him Clive, and let's have the next person in there and we'll call this one Beth. Okay, then I close it off there. I think that's enough names. Now I can print this at any time by just saying print and then students, and if I run it, you'll see it prints out the list there. Now I can also, if I need to, see the length of the list. So if I just say L is equal to len of students, and then print L. I run that, you'll see, oh, what's it give me? Type of mistake there. Again. Okay, so you can see the length is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But remember, the starting position is still 0, but there is 4 things in the list, and that's what the length gives you. Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure as well, if I don't create, although I haven't done this in a while, but let's test it. If I just say print len of students, that will also work, I think. Let's just see. Yeah, it does. Okay, so you don't need to set the variable to print to get the length. You can just print it out if you need to. Okay, so appending to a list. Now this just basically means adding one. All we do there is we call upon the list, students, and then we say dot append, and then see what we want to add into it. So let's say I want to add Richard to my list. I can do that, and then if I print students, run it, you'll see that Richard is now on my list here at the end. Okay, we can also remove from the list. Okay, so to remove something from the list, all I need to do is say del for delete, give the name of my students, and then give the position I want to delete from. So let's say I want to delete position 1. Okay, so if I do that, so delete the name of the student, the name of the list, and then the position you want to delete from, and then I'll print it. And run it, and you'll see here that before I deleted it, Bob is there, position 1, and now Bob is gone and Clive is in position 1. Okay, now I can also insert by saying the name of the list. So let's put Bob back in position 1. So if I say students dot insert, and then in brackets the actual position I want to put the thing that I'm putting in there, and then a comma, and then the thing that I want to put in there. So I'm going to put Bob back into position 1, and then I'll print it so you can see. And then run it. And you can see here that here's the list where I remove Bob, and then here's the list where I put Bob back in there. Okay, and he doesn't have to go back in the same position. That can be any position that is within the list. Okay, I can iterate through the list, so that means I can loop through the list and just print every person out. So let's say for I in students, and then say print I. And then this will, when I run it, just print every person in the list in a list there. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going down there. Okay, now we can also search a list. Now we can, there's different ways we can search it. We can search it without looping, using a loop to go through like we've done here. And to do that, we can just say, let's see, if I ask a user, or if I can just say, I'm trying to think of a name that isn't in the list now. Who have I got on the list? I'll just look for myself. Chris in students. Now, I don't think this is going to work, but I'm going to run it just in case. I'm thinking it might give me a false thing, but it might just give me an error. Yeah, because it's not going to give me because I'm printing anything out. I just wanted to try that. Sorry if I confused anyone. All right, so I'm going to just give, let's say, name is equal to input, and then just type a message saying, who are you looking for? Let's put a space there because it looks better. And then I can say if name in students print student is in this class. If they're not, so else print student not in this class. Okay, so if I run that, and who are you looking for? So let's say Bob, because we know Bob's in there, and it says student not in this class. That is because I've spelled Bob with a capital B, so let's do that again. And then you can see student in this class. So you can see there I've spelled Bob wrong. That meant Bob wasn't in the class, and it said student is not in this class. And then when I spelled Bob right, it said student is in the class. Okay. So let's have a look at searching a list with a loop. Okay, actually, let's just say, rather than searching, let's just say using a list with a loop. Okay, now if we do the same thing here, so we can maybe say we'll set a loop and we'll make it equal to true, and then I'm just going to ask a question. So let's say, oh no, we'll say while the loop is equal to true, do the following. And then I'm going to ask a question and just say, let's say another, and I'm going to make it equal to input. And then I'm going to say, do you add a student? And then I'm going to say if another is equal to yes, then we can have name is equal to input, and then say enter student name, and then we can say student dot append, and then give it name. So what's going to happen here is if someone says yes, they want to enter, it's going to go and ask the student's name, and then it's going to append that name to the list. And then if this person doesn't click, it doesn't say yes, we're going to say else loop is equal to false. And then we can end the program just by saying something like print have a nice day. Okay, so if I run this, and as long as the student says, yeah, actually at the end I will print the student's name, just so I can say I've left the speech marks off there. I'll print the student's name, the student list at the end, so you can see the student's name in there. Print students. Okay, so if I run this, it should ask me if I want to add another student, and if I say yes, it should allow me to enter the student's name, and then it will add it to the name, and then it will ask me if I want to add another student. It will keep doing that until I say no. then it will say have a nice day and then print the list off. So to make this a little bit better, so I don't make that mistake as I did with Bob with the capital letters before, I'm just going to change this answer and I'm going to say another is equal to another dot lower, just to make everything that, so if I type it with a capital, it will make everything back into lowercase, and then when I do the if statement, it should work better. Okay, so let's run that. And here, what are you looking for? That's the last one, so I'll just write Bob again with a capital B this time, and you can see the student is in the class, and then says, do you want to add another student? I'll say yes. Who do I want to add? Let's add Billy. Okay, and student not defined. What? It's students. Let's run that again. Students dot depend. Append, sorry. Right, let's run that. See this again. Are you looking for Bob? Yes, Bob's in the class. Do you want to add another student? Yes, I do. Enter the student's name. Billy, do you want to add another student? Yes, I do. What's his name? Johnny. Do you want to add another student? No, I don't. So it says have a nice day and it prints them all out, and you can see Billy and Johnny there. Okay, so I think I'll leave it there because the video's at over 17 minutes now, so it's quite long, and I'll make that as big as possible if you can see it, and I'll just scroll, and if you need to, you can take a screenshot of the code. Okay, and I'll see you in the next video where we look at 2D arrays and maybe searching through arrays a little bit more as well.